Hello and welcome to Red Gaming Tech for yet more of your daily gaming news with myself, Marta. Today is still the 29th of September and I have some news for you concerning GTA Online, as there was recently an interview conducted with Dan Houser from Rockstar, who's of course the co-founder, and he was interviewed recently by Polygon, and the focus of the interview was mostly due to GTA Online and of course the fact that it was a staggered release and of course is not even out yet but will be coming out very soon. Now, but first, Hauser did talk about the question of the value of single-player offline games and increasingly multiplayer online worlds. And he said, quote, "I think the well-executed multiplayer game clearly attracts a big audience, but it doesn't attract as big an audience as in a single-player game. It just doesn't do that yet." And he also is claiming that, barring games like World of Warcraft and a few others, Hauser is saying that even the most successful online games like Call of Duty have an important single-player element. And he said, quote, "Not everybody, not even with Call of Duty, not everyone is playing the multiplayer. There's a huge audience for people who love single-player adventures, and I think that what we make is action-adventure games. Games with ever stronger mechanics and ever stronger adventure components. They're not quite RPGs, but it's getting harder and harder to say what the difference is between an RPG and what we do. The space between the two in the past few years has gotten smaller and smaller. I think a short single-player game struggles, that's what's happened, but a big single-player adventure can do well if it's a good game, just as a focused multiplayer game can do well if it's a big game. The only area what's become tough is for a short single-player campaign without multiplayer. That's become a tough market, I believe. The rest of it, everything is just moved in one direction without moving away from the other direction." And of course, naturally, as you might expect, he was then asked about, well, if you feel this way, why make an online component for GTA on 5, which is of course a series that has been single player only up until this point. And he said, quote, "Because I think we feel passionately about open world games. What we like about open world games is that a lot of the qualities of it are not unique to single player." Now, of course, the essence of a Grand Theft Auto game is, of course, the narrative, story and characters. However, that's obviously not all there is to GTA. I'd say that most people enjoy GTA not only for the crazy characters, the story, the world and all the humour and everything else involved in that. It is the ability to roam, create your own experiences and just basically do whatever you want. It's got the freedom of the massive sandbox that can only really be enjoyed with complete and utter chaos, and of course this can be made better when shared with friends online. Now, the goal for GTA Online was to take that ability to travel around the world, to play death matches, to race, create your own challenges and bring them together in a cohesive package. And Hauser said that it was a challenge but feels that it might be there, and he said it has been a hard challenge to get right. And the game is meant to be an experience that can deliver everything and anything to its players. And he said, quote, "So the player that liked death matches, there are still deathmatch, there are still races, but we're trying to glue the whole thing together by bringing the free roam component to life, which will give us the stuff that we really like from open worlds. What we like about the open world games, where we think they are unique or uniquely good at doing something compared to all other media, is that you can be somewhere. That you can be in this world we built, this sort of digital tourism idea. Even the best fantasy movies or any set in a movie that builds a world beautifully, any book that puts you in a world in a beautiful way, can't do it with the same power that games have to actually put you in that world and explore it at your speed, your way, doing the things that you want to do." And of course, he said that translated into multiplayer games as much as it does to single player ones. And he again said, quote, "So to give people a chance to do multiple mechanics in any way they want in a game is potentially as rewarding in a multiplayer game as it is in a single player game. We had many technical hurdles to overcome, which is why when you think about maybe 4 games from when you first started doing it to getting close to being right. I don't want to say it's right until people played it and loved it, but we believe it's right for this game." Now, of course, while he still feels this way, they still had the staggered release of course, the GTA Online component is not actually due out until the 1st of October on Tuesday. And he did say that part of that decision was actually driven out of necessity. While developers worked on the online component, they continued to work on it up until its release. So basically, once the single player came out, of course, it had the natural teething problems of any huge release, as we've heard, mostly regarding the digital editions of GTA on both Xbox and PSN. Of course, so they have a dedicated team trying to work on that, so it basically gives the online team a chance to focus purely on that while they scurry around and try and deal with the launch problems that any big release will suffer. And he said, quote, "On the practical reasons, it was simply on the scale of why not simply get these two enormous things done completely at the same time, finished completely seamlessly and in a box? Well, because it's nearly impossible. To make games on this scale is very, very hard, and anyone you speak to who works on these big games will, if they're honest, admit that there are a lot of moving parts. So we were concerned that trying to finish them both for the same day would lead to a compromise in quality. On a practical level, it was very important that they each get a period where they can be really focused on by large members of the team to iron out as many problems as possible." And there was another reason beside the practical element of the actual development process. And this is something that I'm actually going to agree with. He's basically saying that it gives you more time to actually get used to the game's controls, the world, characters, and basic concepts and mechanics. So, for example, the 3-character mechanic and heists and things like that. And basically gives you a chance to really just get used to it and get comfortable in the game and feel like, yeah, I'm good at this game, or I'm at least competent at this game. Otherwise, if you had perhaps jumped straight into the multiplayer, you would have been a bit frustrated and maybe not gone back to it ever again because of that frustration factor. And he said, quote, "You can play single player, you can really learn how the game works, learn the mechanics. You can start multiplayer after 2 weeks and really give them a real focus on where to look at the thing. I think that separating it out will just help people look at it as different products in their own mind a bit more and really give it a good chance to try it and play it and enjoy it. Otherwise, you try it for 2 minutes, it's hard to connect because it's day one, and you go back to single player, play that, and never go back into playing online." Which is a fair point, and I have to say that that is probably a very good reason. That alongside the perfectly understandable concerns concerning the development process, I think they made the right decision to separate the releases of the single player and multiplayer components of GTA 5, especially with the launch issues that GTA 5 has been having with the digital editions and of course the older models of Xbox 360 is having issues and things like that. Any big release has problems, it's just the way of the beast, unfortunately. So I think they definitely made the right call. I just hope that after my concerns about the microtransactions and things like that, that GTA Online is a fun and satisfying mode. Now, of course, when it does release on October 1st, I will be bringing you a look at the online mode to see what I think of it, and of course talk a little bit about the microtransaction system, whether or not it's actually pay to win, because you don't really know that until you actually get your hands on it, at least in my opinion. Anyway, that is me done for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do hit me up with thoughts and opinions though. I'll see you next time.